off my pen. All right, retired U.S. Army Colonel and Fox News military analyst David Hunt and former CIA operative Mike Baker join me in New York City. All right, gentlemen, thanks so much for being with us this evening. The first thing I want to talk about, now that we know that, there was this cable on August 16th, basically saying, Al-Qaeda's in the region, we're scared, we need more protection, more security. We now know that the White House Situation Room was watching in real time as this unfolded. I want to take a look now at who was in the White House situation, who would have been able to see what was going on in Benghazi.
You've got Department of State security officers on a phone to the Department of State Operations Center. That goes directly to the Situation Room. You had a drone up, ran out of gas, put another drone up. You had CIA operations guys in Benghazi talking. And then you had guys on.
So we have audio, visual, and calls in real time, and satellite, and the drone. Okay, so who's watching,
This
Mike?
was unfolding before their eyes. And as the Colonel said, as soon as this balloon goes up, you've got Langley for the CIA, you've got State Department, you've got the White House Situation Room. They're all screaming for information. And so you have the chief of base in Benghazi to the degree that he can. You've got the chief of station in Tripoli. You've got the regional security officer who's with State Department in Tripoli. They're all sending this information back. They positioned a drone overhead at a certain point to provide. The clarity is quite good. This was to provide information on their terminals that they can watch as this unfolds.
All right, so anyone who had access to that computer could see this in real time.
And this was the third embassy in 24 hours going up in smoke.
So it's not like they didn't know what's going on.
Right. There's a lot of trouble in the Middle East. Everybody's watching and listening.
All right, so now let's talk about, besides the fact that the question really should be, who didn't know what was going on?
Because everybody did.
Everybody knew. Okay, let's talk about the military assets that were in the area that could have gotten to Benghazi. Let's start with an F-16.
There's an important point here to lead this off with as we talk about this, which is that in very short order, the White House knew that we were not getting a counter-assault support from the Libyans themselves. So we knew, as this thing was beginning to unfold, that the Libyans, our friends, were doing nothing to provide support.
Because we knew at 6:43 in the morning and from the cable a month before that it was being infiltrated. Right. So this Libyan militia, they said they called for help, the militia. Well, they're almost the enemy.
Right. We've been in war for 11 years. What the United States military and the intelligence community know how to do is react to a firefight in another country. So we had jets, F-16s, very, very accurate, and the ability on the ground from the CIA to call them in and to pinpoint their pinpoint their ability.
What's an F-16?
It's a very fast-moving jet.
What's on it?
It's got guns, it's got bombs,
various arms,
it's got very
how they kit it out.
And they can go a very specific target if they have somebody pointing at it. But the point is, it's very fast and very available. Within 25 minutes, it could have been over the target.
And you've got the resources, as you're just seeing in this graphic. You've got the resources in the region.
All over the place.
Now, the important thing here is we've got this attack is unfolding. The agency, the CIA, has personnel on the ground, global response staff. These guys, including the deceased now, Ty, they are not there to provide long-term defensive capability. They are there to hold off the hostiles until the cavalry shows up. And the covenant is that the cavalry will show up.
And it didn't. And these CIA guys did a phenomenal job.
Oh, they're heroes.
So, but they reacted with sidearms against about 100 and 125 guys and actually rescued some people.
Yeah.
The problem is the military is supposed to back them up. And we're not ordered to.
Let's talk about the F-16. With the bomber capability, we know that there were some in Aviano in northern Italy, and we say it would take 25 minutes. Is that from Sigonella or from Aviano?
From Sigonella. If they moved the aircraft, which they did, down to Sigonella, they get about a 25-minute flight to get over the target.
The first attack comes in at 9:40, guys. They know about it immediately. Yes?
Right, yes.
Okay. Yes. 25 minutes later is a few minutes after 10. The fight goes on how late?
Well, the fight goes on for
9 hours.
Right.
But there's two waves.
I know.
There's two waves. The first wave is when you lose Stevens and the other State Department and Smith. It's the second wave, 7 hours later, in which you lose the two SEALs.
But it doesn't matter because we know that once the attack starts, again, we know that we've got a very short period of time for this, on the ground, our CIA people, to have some type of counter-assault effort to try to hold off the friendlies until the military shows. And we know, again, that the Libyans aren't providing support to help us. So at that point, immediately, you have to try.
So we had the F-16s in Aviano. And we could have gotten into Benghazi long before the second wave, if not the first wave.
Yes. And all they needed was the order to go, and they weren't given it.
Okay. And they weren't given it, and they kept asking for it. Let's go to an AC-130. What is an AC-130?
AC-130 is a C-130 with a 105 millimeter cannon, very Gatling gun, and the ability to hit a football field from a mile up. It's an amazing, it's slow moving aircraft. And we had people on the ground, there's the agency again, who could have called it in. That's within 2 hours away.
Well, that's what Woods kept calling for. Didn't Woods keep calling for an AC, for C-130?
Well, yes, because we had two of our guys were up on the rooftop. They had identified hostile positions. They were anticipating, they were hoping, as were everyone else. And remember, it's not just the two guys up on the rooftop that we're talking about trying to save. It's the 30 plus that came out of the consulate that they rescued, that our guys rescued. All those people that apparently the White House said, well, I don't know, maybe you'll be taken hostage, maybe you'll die in the attack, but we're not going to try.
And the agency guys are moving the people from the consulate under fire at night down to their base and need this military cover, which is available. It was moved to help them and didn't get the order to go.
Let's give someone the benefit of the doubt. And I don't like giving liars the benefit of the doubt. But let's assume that they were worried about maybe collateral damage. They still could have lowered the F-16s to make a lot of noise and disperse the crowd?
You could have done a flyover. And again, this is the part that's so frustrating and disingenuous. And honestly, I don't know how anybody who's been in the military or in the intel community and operations overseas, how they can understand or process what the White House has been saying, where they say, we just didn't have enough information.
We had a glutton of information. We had visual and audio information. Again, we've been fighting for 11 years in Iraq and Afghanistan. We know how to do this.
All right, let's pull up the next screen. We heard about Delta Force being moved from Central Europe to Sigonella.
Yep.
Talk to me about Delta Force.
Delta Force is the Army SEAL Team 6, the Special Force Operation Attachment Delta. They're the best we have in the Army. Again, people will recognize it because of SEAL Team 6, same type of organization, counterterrorism. They were training in Europe, training in Stuttgart, actually. And they got the call and were moved to Sigonella, which gives them about 2.5 hours to get to Benghazi, along with Charlie Company 1st 10th Special Forces Group, phenomenal organization, and a Marine forward area support team. These are trained Marines to do exactly what they was not allowed to do.
And they could have made it, but no one gave them permission to go.
And Panetta has said, who I have a great deal of respect for, Leon Panetta, now the Secretary of Defense, he was very good at the agency as a director, but he's come out, and I think he's carrying water for the administration.
Of course
I don't get it. And he's saying that, we didn't have enough information, we can't deploy the troops into harm's way. That's what they're there for. That's what they train for. That's what they expect, to be dropped into harm's way without imperfect information.
Right, and they don't need to pack a bag for 24 hours notice.
They
just hit it.
They were ready to go.
If you wait for all the information, bad things happen.
Of course. And what Senator McCain just said, the military's worried now. Will the cavalry come? Anyway, Mike Baker, CIA, Colonel David Hunt, thank you so much for being with us and explaining this. We're going to do more of it in the future. All right.